Nice one for jumping on, dude. How's it going?
How about now? How we doing now?
We're good. Let's do it. You're on. You're live on the air, dude.
I had to switch to the speakerphone.
Legend. What do you want to talk about? Anything in particular?
Listen, I'll just kind of go off the last call. Dragon Sage, he got me interested.
Right on. That was an awesome call. Yeah, so, well, you called in before and we got really deep on stuff, but yeah, what was it that he was saying that tickled your fancy?
Well, just the whole like consciousness deal, and like I mentioned with it's just like the way everybody that has the experience describes it. It's almost like you're at rock bottom or you're not doing your best and you want things to change, but then what people don't realize is like it does, so it's almost like you are doing that. And it's just weird to me because like in Egypt on the hieroglyphs and stuff, you'll see where they have the lotus and they, sometimes they show energy coming out of it or whatever. But I take it a step further. Okay, look up lotus, blue lotus. What do they do? Okay, well, they made psychedelics out of it.
That's
and then
right.
You look up psychedelics and then you see how they're heavy with oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen. And then you start to think of like Genesis or life, And it's just weird how, they'll say like, oh, the priest would go commune with the gods and they would leave their body and walk as the gods do, like one of them. Like that just sounds like tripping to me, And
right on, yeah.
Goes back to Dionysus and that like where they drink the ergot wine and took mushrooms and stuff. And so like you're big on that. This is just what our eyes perceive, this isn't what's really going on. And so I think when people are tripping, they're actually like kind of seeing what's really going on, what's normally there if we're not, being fooled by our eyes.
That's right. So, I put it in the sense that when you take something like magic mushrooms, it disrupts the neural network to the point where that disruption to the normal faculties, it gets in the way of the production of reality, the normal production of reality, and you suddenly realize that you are far more... there's far more a cooperative affair going on with the generation of reality than most people take for granted, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's like one thing if you're tripping and you see some stuff and your friend sees some other stuff, but if y'all are tripping and y'all see the same thing, it's it's most likely that your brain's not making that up, And that's why when people go on religious journeys like Mecca or things like that, they require them to fast or to fast and do really physical activities. Like I think for Mecca, they crawl like the last mile in a circle around the little meteor. And so then you're naturally doing just what you described, like disrupting the neural network and stuff like that. And then the two pillars, to me, that's just eyesight.
Two pillars, and just to unpack that, the two pillars in Freemasonry are we referring to, or ancient Egyptian?
Or all of it, really. I think it's all one wrapped up in the same.
Yeah.
Like I hate to, shots fired, but like I kind of grew out of like I used to like Ken Wheeler, and then all of a sudden it's like I feel like he dances around the topics and pretends like he found things out that he didn't, So I just kind of like got off of watching his channel. I think he should, if he was brave, he would like try to actually put out theories of his own and not just like say he does and then make it, like where you can't really find it, or he quits talking about it, or he'll say, I'm not going to talk about that today,
Yeah, when it comes to the sort of plague or the coof or whatever you want to call it, which he does address in a loose fashion, he does steer and skirt it in a very careful manner. Which I do appreciate. Like he had a channel before that whole particular affair. I actually think it was largely thanks to that, this current situation we're in with all of that he started to wake up in other ways. But he does err on the side of caution a little bit too much for my liking also on that particular front. But at least he does address it. So you've got to give him some kudos. He does actually address it. Yeah, for sure.
Like he's definitely always talking about the right subjects that interest me. It's just like. Lately, I haven't really liked it as much as I used to. And then one more thing I'll throw at you just to get everybody thinking. I actually broke this on Jay Dreamer's channel. It's like, we talk about as above, so below. And everything's the same from micro to macro. So why not treat it the same, you know? And then this one gets out a little bit of consciousness, but into outer space. And how do we not know outer space isn't like a bigger human's consciousness? You know what I mean?
Well, that's not
like,
dissimilar from what Dragon Sage was touching on. So whether or not obviously there's some contention about space, depending on who you talk to, but either way, the general idea at Dragon Stage put it forward, and he gave a term that I forget what it was, but I'm really interested in it. The idea of universal consciousness or universal mind sort of thing. I also see a case for universal mind being where the ones and zeros for apparent reality are stored, and that's somewhat how it works, rather than an actual physical place with that's in a location. Yeah,
that's why I like it to liken it to like psychedelics and stuff, because that's what you feel when you do that, the oneness or the selflessness, or it's kind of like that hive mind, or
hive mind. Yeah.
But I'll take a step further and say that our DNA is just the plasma is AI, a form of AI. It's nothing but ones and zeros, and then you get the sun is the one, the moon is the zero. And since it's fractal universe, you have to look at it. When you go to space, you're actually time traveling because movement stops. There's no movement. So now time is not passing unless you move. So if you're looking at the sun, that's the beginning of Earth to me. We're at the sweet spot right now. And then after Earth's core dies down and does its thing, then we turn into the moon. And that's how I see it. And it's like the whole flat or not flat thing. Well, if you have an egg and you can only see it from one side, sometimes it's going to look flat. Sometimes it's going to look like a sphere. Sometimes it's going to look like an egg.
Well, either way, I mean, like you say, either way, if we are in, which I prefer the idea of, that we're in an enclosed system, or at least, well, I say I prefer the idea of it. It appears to be that way to me, but that's also essentially like the womb. It is like the egg. It is like sort of interior of Hollow Earth or something like that, you could say. If there's, but yeah, I'm not going to argue with too many people about their perspective. I respect all people's perspectives these days. But yeah, either way,
that's my point. Like, that's what it is. It's nothing but perspective. It just depends on what side you're on that day.
Exactly, brother.
And to me, like, the planets are the big being or the big God, whatever the big human. It's his chakra. That's that's where the energy flows. And so it's like literally from micro to macro, it's all the same. You just have to apply it, like you're saying. It's like it's perspective.
Well, what's the ultimate purpose then? Would you have a shot at it in less than a minute? Is the purpose, as me and Dragon Sage believe we've discovered, is to surrender, yield back control, back over to more of a universal sort of mind?
I would call it balance. That's how I like. I would call it balance, because like I don't want to necessarily surrender. You do that and then you figure things out, like you feel it, the oneness or whatever. But I believe it's about balance, because for every action, there's a equal reaction. So if you're doing something really bad, there's going to be somebody doing something really good. True. So just by trying to be overly good, you're going to create overly bad things. So if you just try to stay neutral, then that's what I think it's about.
Well, sometimes, we could say loosely God's omniscient wisdom, certain things that need to happen wouldn't always be what the ego would like by design. And so I think when you hand it back over, you gain access to a bit of a better intuition about what to do when and what not to do when. And it's no longer about trying to project a particular image of yourself or trying to do good, as you say, per se, but you will do what's necessary, not only ultimately in fact, you already know it's ultimately for the good, but you have to have faith that that's what it is. You speak truth in good faith where possible, and know that it will work out one way or another. And you are but one channel in that whole great thing, brother. We've got 30 seconds left. Man. 30 seconds left, bro.
Trains you for manifestation. That's why it's so important to control people's thoughts, because then you actually control what they think and what happens by manifestation. So I'll leave it at that. I wanted to get everybody thinking. Cool.
Legend.
To finish the convo with you.
Brother, I'm so glad we had this conversation. Thanks for helping me out, brother. Come back on any week you want to. This has been a great conversation, brother. Loved it.
I'll see y'all in chat.
Absolutely loved it. Nice on the screen name. Legend. Wow. Another awesome conversation, everybody. I'm enjoying this. Ooh, Babble Box is the greatest show ever created. I've just decided. It's the greatest show ever. That was fun, wasn't it? Wow. You don't normally have one of those conversations a night on one of these shows. 2 already. Rocking it, man. Love that. Absolutely love that. Thank you, brother.